So let's take. Okay, so the green shirt man has had his hand up for a while now. Let's give him another round.
I was just wondering, what's it like when the big voice actor, when you look, when you see something on TV that you did like so many years ago, just to see what you did then? What's it like?
So what is it like going back and watching something that was years ago for you and recording it?
Honestly, I kind of cringe at my acting, like, oh, could have done that way better. And so yeah,
You're hard on yourself.
I do.
But good actors are, I think.
Right,
I
I think you're supposed to. It's
I'm
natural.
very, very critical of my stuff. It's very, even stuff that isn't all that old. Like I'll go back, I try to watch, like, my downtime after a show, it's like you usually got 6 months to a year before it actually comes out. And usually, if you're lucky, you're doing so much in between there that you kind of forget and you're not as excited about the show anymore because you're in the middle of several other projects. So you get around to watching it once it comes out 6 months to a year later. And it's really hard. I mean, even if it's only like a year ago for you or 6 months ago, you're like, ooh, I don't like that. But you have to, and you have to watch it because you have to, that's how you hone your technique. I mean, I'll force myself to watch it, but I hate when I'm watching it with other people in the room. I hate that. I will not watch it with friends. I hate it. I'm like, no, I have to watch it first and see if I can like it. If I like it, I'll show it to you, but not until then. But yeah, stuff that like, if I go back and like watch Samurai 7, which was like 6 years ago for me now, like some of it, not to sound egotistical, but some of it like really impresses me because I'm like, I don't know where that came from. Like, I don't know how I was able to do that because I'm not sure I can do that now. And I realized, well, that was the director I had on that show. And usually, and it's just true, like anything good that comes out of my mouth is because the director put it there. I'm just the vassal. But like watching that, I'm like going, man, my voice was different, you know? My voice has changed a lot. Like that was a different character for me. I haven't played a character like that since. I mean, it's really weird. Sometimes the older the show gets, though, as long as it wasn't like a disaster, like, oh God, that's terrible. Oh, that acting was non-existent. As long as that's not a factor, actually it tends to be easier to watch the older it is. Because then I'm like, you know, like I can watch Samurai 7 now.
So you're a little more distant from it now. So.
Yeah. You kind of get, you're like, yeah, more distance makes it easier to watch.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. So, all right, we have like one more question and we'll wrap it up. So, you picked the last one. I hate picking the last question.
Well, there's only 2 more people with questions. We could do both quick.
Okay, we'll do both of you.
Go.
So you and then you first.
Have you guys ever auditioned or played other anime that wasn't Survivor Information?
I actually hadn't, not once.
I have not either. Because the only other places that do it are LA or New York, and I've never been to either one. Well, I've been to LA, but I've never, not to work, and never been to New York. So that's not to say that I wouldn't, given the chance, but.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of cross-pollination. Like I was say, cross-pollination. Never mind. There's a lot of people from.
No, that was
what
a good
I trying to say.
analogy. Cross-pollination.
Cross-pollination.
Beautiful flowers of.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, there's a lot of LA actors that still come to Funimation that work. Travis, for example, Vic, who's now LA-based, comes back all the time. Travis Willingham, Laura Bailey, they're all. I mean, they typically they also started in Texas. I mean, Vic was originally there, and as was Laura and Travis and all of them. But there's a lot of actors, and there's many that go over there too. I have yet to do that, but I also have a very, very prohibitively busy schedule, so I don't travel a lot. Because I just can't. It's the writing thing, like takes up a lot of my time. So I'm glad for the work, but it's hard to write and travel, so I don't.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm a minor. I have school.
He's a minor. You have school. Lamest excuse ever.
And
I'm kidding.
rough. All right. You had one?
So you had the question, I think, too.
If you could voice any character, past or present, who would it be and why?
Now, does this are we confined to anime characters, or do we have free range?
Any voice of every character.
What do you think? That's a good question. Thank you. That's a good ending question. Awesome cosplay, by the way. I love your outfit. I've seen you around. That's really, I don't know how you survive wearing that in this heat, but you are a trooper. What do you think?
I want to be a Pokemon.
What was
Because I mean, that kind of acting fascinates me because all you're trying to convey emotion with a single word. So
Line.
like a line. You want me to do one? Okay.
Do line.
You first.
I don't want to be a Pokemon.
You Bellsprout.
What?
Bellsprout.
What does he say?
Bellsprout.
Bellsprout.
With emotion, come on.
There's a lot of different emotions there, Ed.
One more feeling into it.
Which one?
Bellsprout's a plant. I don't think it's capable of like real sorrow. It's like, okay, so you just got hit by a bumblebee. You're gonna be all right then.
Bellsprout!
It's horrible.
Oh my god!
You're like annoyed by the bumblebee. It's a bumblebee. It's not just a bubble attack, you know?
I believe this question was directed at you first.
Just because she was looking at me doesn't mean it was directed at me.
Hey, it counts. Read the rule book. I'll answer my question first while you figure out something. I'll buy some time for us. There is a book by the 20th century author Virginia Woolf, who I'm a big literature nerd, by the way. Anyone who doesn't know that, you know that now. But she wrote a book called Orlando, which is a fascinating, fascinating book. It's kind of early 20th century science fiction, if you like, but it's not really science fiction, about a character who's named Orlando, starts life as a young boy in the Elizabethan age, and without it ever being explained, the boy somehow gains immortality and just lives through various ages of European ages. But halfway through the book, inexplicably becomes a woman, and then has to live out the rest of his life as a woman, and the culture changes around him, and so he becomes Orlando the girl, and he loses his property and many of his rights, and it's a
By property, do you mean? Oh, never mind.
Well, yes, obviously that, but I also mean the land that Orlando owned and stuff,
I just wonder if he re-loses it. I mean,
No, just the once. But anyway, it's a really fascinating book, and it's a fascinating character, and I'm always...
does he change sexualities, or is he?
Well, he changes sexuality. When he's a young man, he's in love with a woman, and that ends up in disaster, as many young relationships.
Right.
And as a woman, she now falls in love with a man, and ends up. And the book ends in the 20th century with her pregnant. And it's a fascinating book, and it's a fascinating examination of several centuries of history. And I've always loved characters. I would love to play the male incarnation of that character at some point. I would love to work with another actress on that character's voice, both of us playing the same character at different stages of life. And I can think of no more radical example than that. But I love that character, and that would be a favorite of mine to play if they ever brought it to. If they ever made it. They did make a movie out of it actually, but not a very good one, if you ask me. But if it was ever turned into an animated film, which I think would be a really good one, that would be my favorite role. So go!
It doesn't really matter, I mean, Pokemon's a Pokemon. I just kept thinking of different ones, and I can't really make a statement by saying I'd rather be Geodude than Arcanine or whatever. I mean, I'll be all of them. I'll be as many as I can. I'll be all the ones that don't sound effeminate.
Gotta catch them all. Ooh.
Right.
That was terrible. All right, well, we should wrap it up. Anyway, thank you so much for humoring us for the past hour. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
You're very, very sweet, all of you.
Goodbye.
Good luck.